We got a fresh one.
We got Candace Owens on the right and
Sorry, I need to read that.
Dr. Cornel West on the left. And we're going to quietly listen to them, but the second you hear a siren, we got to get the hell out of here. Shh. Hi guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to the pub.
How you doing, my brother?
I'm glad to have you back, Cornel. I'm glad we finally got you, Candace.
Thanks for having me.
Now, obviously, we have both of you here. You had that fight on Fox, both black, one right, one left. Obviously, the first question is going to be sex. Sex in
Proud Boys
2019.
founder, just letting you know.
I rarely discuss this subject on the show, but I wanted to come sort of sideways with you guys on this. I couldn't imagine being a 20-year-old girl right now, or even a young man in college, with the culture we have today of Me Too and feminism, and I'm at the point now where I think it might be killing romance. Because with all this constant need for uber consent, how do you court a lady anymore? Like if you were a 20-year-old man.
Well, I'd have to really use my imagination, brother. That was a long time ago. I can tell you that. No, but it's two things. One is you got the art of intimacy, which we're losing. So that the notion of
So think about it this way, like the phrasing of it, like directly, is that's the Proud Boys founder. That's how they think. Like I really didn't want to go into it like right now. I want to give them a chance to speak, but like yeah, that's a weird like we just covered this with the Hassan Piker debate. It's weird that like you start out like that off rip, like you start out with that like off rip, and that's how they think. They go into these super weird dichotomies of conversations because there's nothing holding him back from saying like what he really want to say. I could have two people on that are like the top tier political commentators, and if the first thing I say is, "So, how's your love life?" It's like, who asked you to host this?
the notion of surrendering as opposed to just resigning or dominating, that's being lost. You see, my generation, it was Otis Redding, try love tenderness.
Right.
These days, it's more say my name, say my name, say my name. It's a very different orientation and disposition, you see. But on the other hand, you've got all of the policing.
Right. With all this consent, how does someone court anyone? Like, are you? What's your brain like function on this? Like, oh, so she has to say yes to everything? Like, how you telling me that black like women are, oh, Cardi B's promoting slut behavior, but then at the same time, oh, all this consent is forcing people to, do you think that the girls that are doing the wild thing, they're not consenting to this? Come on.
So
That's the point of owning your sexuality, to know your boundaries and to be able to say no and still feel like a hot girl. Come on, it's not that hard.
people to really allow themselves to be themselves. And you can't really have a serious relationship if it's just posing, posturing, wearing a mask.
Yeah. Well, you were in D.C. You just met a man, happily married. I met a million Trump girls in D.C. I used to do a show there. And they were all having a lot of trouble finding a dude. And you thought, if this was 50 years ago, you wouldn't have women's political beliefs affecting their love lives.
Oh. Women's political beliefs affecting their sex lives. Sorry, I'm just not open. Like, I was okay with you holding the Confederate flag in 2015, but now in 2019, I don't want to sleep with you anymore. I think that's kind of weird. Oh, you don't respect me for my beliefs? You're playing with my emotions, and I don't like it.
Right. I mean, I think first and foremost, what we're seeing now is into
Yeah.
Bro, don't fuck
I
up the
call it
stream.
be feminists, but it's not that at all, and it is scary for men to want to date. And the irony is that these toxic feminists, or modern feminists, whatever you want to call them, third wave feminists, are creating men that they don't want to date. They don't want men to act like they have their tails in between their legs. That's actually, there's something that is very unnatural about that, seeing men like that. But we have a culture and society that's sort of promoting it. I mean,
But Brock Turner gets away for rape, and you get made fun of for being a simp.
staunchly against it, and I think the Me Too movement is something that I spoke out against instantly. The concept of just convicting men, absent any details, seeing things trend like #BelieveWomen. I mean, these are the sorts of things, and I'm correlating this to they can make me think of DC and the Christine Blasey Ford stuff, like just believe women. That's a scary thing. I mean, that's literally how black men got lynched.
Right, yeah.
As my battle rap friends would say, that's a reach.
Yeah, that's literally what happened to, I mean, they got lynched. Just believe the women. This was the allegation, and go out after them. So I will never promote that sort of an ideology. There should always be facts.
He got lynched because society, it wasn't because he was a man. And then they say we shouldn't look at the past, but then use the past as the example to make a hyperbolic statement about the future.
And that's something that we're seeing sort of disappear today.
But you would agree, of course, that there ought to be mutual respect.
Of course.
There ought to be accountability. And there ought to be reciprocity in that regard. Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. There should be accountability.
Absolutely.
It's just, the left is primarily responsible for this. They start out with a concept that sounds good, like rape is bad, let's stop sexual assault. You go, I agree with that. And then they keep pushing that until they've kind of killed it for both sexes.
Wait. How could you push? Where's the next, guys, maybe I'm crazy. Chat, let me know. Maybe I'm nuts. Maybe I'm fucking insane. But where would you push the argument after rape is bad? Teach your boys not to rape, right? Because you were saying rape is bad on both sides, right? Or if you want to do let's do the both sides argument, rape is bad, right? Where would you push it after that? To eliminate the spectrums of the culture that considers rape a viable option as an action for a person, right? Because remember that at the end of the day, no, I don't want to say this because there's a difference between sexual assault, obviously, and that action. I want to say at the end of the day, it does have to deal with some sort of power dominance on the person's side. They feel like that's a better way to say it. There's a power imbalance, and they want to exploit that power imbalance. These things are obvious. Some people are emotionally scarred from past trauma or even the trauma of another event like this and are submissive when they feel that power imbalance. Wouldn't you have to create a society in which people don't have to have that good? Like, that's not something that us as humans do. So where would the conversation ruin people's sex lives at?
Until, like, I heard about this thing where you have this consent app and you both list what's going to happen sexually together, and then you both sign it.
Yeah, I've never heard.
So 3 years ago, consented more legal fling. Yes means yes. And at least a murky promise that you'll be protected legally if a dispute arises after the fact. Putting aside the awkward discussion that would have to take place, whether any contract agreed among holds up a court trial is best an open question and quite possibly dubious. Even if consent was granted through the app, your partner could have verbally rescinded it minutes later. So these are just startups. There is no like. It doesn't matter if a woman that's not real. That's not real. In other words,
and you're like, that's what prostitutes
You
do.
heard of that before?
That's what prostitutes, not sex workers, prostitutes do.
I've heard about that, and the crazy part about that app is that even after they have sex, the woman is allowed to revoke consent. So she could have consented.
Oh, really?
and then you can wake up in the morning and decide that you no longer consent. And this is what I'm talking about. It's really scary
That's a reach.
stuff. And what I always try to tell women when I speak to them is I try to remind them that men are not dropped off by the stork. Like, they're our sons, so we're creating a society that our sons can't thrive in, that our fathers can't thrive in, that our brothers can't thrive in. So I always use my platform to speak.
What about your uncles? What about your grandparents? Yeah. Why is it always the people on our
this
level?
trick of
not the
using
future.
the nice verbiage to make the things sound justified. You see this with Antifa, where they say we're anti-fascist. What, you're against us? All right, you're pro-fascist. Or even with Black Lives Matter, you go, well, I don't think cops are racist. I didn't say that. I said Black Lives Matter. Are you against Black Lives Matter? Well, then you're against Black lives. You're saying they don't.
The straw man arguments. The straw man arguments. What are we going on about right now? If you're against anti-fascism, then you couldn't sit in the middle, because it's like, well, some fascism is good, some fascism is not. I agree with the good parts. Like, are you for or against fascism in any form whatsoever? Yes or no? The answer should be yes. So you're anti-fascist. Yeah, my man's the white supremacist overlord. He's half the problem. If the Proud Boys didn't attach themselves to the fucking Republican Party, then this conversation wouldn't be happening. Where are the Democratic Nazis? Just show me one. I want one. What about the segregationists? Isn't that the same as the Nazis? I can hear your arguments, and I want you to tell yourself right now, before you type it, because I know you're watching this on YouTube at some point. Before you type it, I want you to go. Hold on. I want you to look at your app, because I know you're watching me. I want you to hit the like button. Then I want you to subscribe, hit that red button, and then I want you to close the app and go outside. Please go outside. How is this a conversation? If you are against the movement against fascism, then some form of it appeals to you. Now, if you want to go a layer deeper, because we like to go a layer deeper here, and you want to say, well, I'm not against the sentiment of anti-fascism. I'm against how the anti-fascist movement carries itself. You see where that's like muddy and unclear as to what you're saying? Because then you're also admitting that they exist in a realm in which they must exist. Therefore, there must be a greater threat that is forming a coalition of people who are claiming to be Antifa. To which then I'd have to say, if the movement is bothering you, maybe the movement's not the issue and the people that they're against are the issue. But you siding with them because you don't like the Antifas on the left, but you like the idea of anti-fascism, yet support a party that is openly engaging in certain facets of fascism. These are bars. You need to hear me. Y'all like bars. Don't do that. Y'all like bars. Don't do that.
Don't matter. Even pro-life and pro-choice play that game. Yeah, you end up being anti-life and anti-choice, and it's rhetoric that's used to trick you.
Well, part of it is, we live in a culture where these categories and labels tend to reduce each and every one of us to just one particular small aspect of who we are as human beings. And so the richness of who we are, and the contradictions that we all are, the incongruities that we all are, you see. All of us are shot through with all kind of incoherencies. That's what it is to be human. But you get one label, reduce just one particular aspect, and then you can use that as a weapon to go at folk, you see. And so, the examples that you give, the Me Too movement, it can be reducible in such a way that you end up overlooking the complexity of relationships, but you want respect, accountability, and answerability. Antifa, there's nothing wrong with being anti-fascist. Fascism is an evil, right? We know it's an evil. We all ought to be anti-fascist in a fundamental way.
I think we all are.
Well,
He's a fucking liar. I think we all are. While literally creating a fascist movement. I need you to not do this. I like, dude, bro. It is appalling to me that a person will sit in a room with a group of people and literally espouse things that their entire lifestyle does not add up to. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. I think we all are to an extent. That's why the Democratic Party is a bunch of fascists. Because the Republicans can save us. The right can save us from the fascist left by instituting our own fascism. Oh, we did it first. We did it first. We got here first. Ha ha ha.
no, you got fascists in the world now.
Who? Oh, in the world, in America. Give me an American fascist.
You.
Oh my God, you got neo-Nazi parties of fascists.
But what percentage of the American
Oh no, it's a
population?
small.
Okay, the percentage of the American people, that doesn't matter. Because when you think about human history, which is what I originally wanted to talk about at the beginning of all my streams months ago, the human history shouldn't allow a growth of an idea like that. That is not a marketplace of ideas worthy level discussion. That is straight up hatred. Like, that is a burning hatred that makes you align with a movement that literally aims for the slaughter of millions of people in the sake of cleaning up the human pool, the perfect being. Why do you, I hate to quote Daylight on this, but think about it. They put blackface on everything except Jesus. Like, there's a reason why the almighty supreme leader of the world that created humanity is a white man for them. You really think they would have been following Jesus if he was like black? No.
Very, very small, but I mean, there's such a thing as fascists in America.
Sure.
And then you got a spectrum. Because, I mean, there's a spiritual fascism inside of all of us in terms of what Augustine called the libido dominante, which is the lust for domination. And as a Christian, I could see it inside of myself. I can see it inside of every human being.
Okay, I guess the moral identity of every human being at some point or another is strongly in their beliefs to the degree that they would want to change the epitaph of other people. That's fair. That's humans. That's like, even in a perfect society, there would still be those who say, like, and I'm trying to take it loosely because I understand that there is a left version of this argument as opposed to the right-wing version of this argument because of the two people on screen. But to take it to a reductionist level all the way down, I could say, well, like, the Harry Potter versus Percy Jackson like fandoms, like that type of thing, if you want to, but that's like super low level, just ideology. I'm not literally linking that to fascism, but I guess I could see where that goes in the form of what it's defined as and not a government system. But he likes to talk on the spiritual side and like the humanistic side, not really the politics side. So I'm gonna have to let that slide. I try to find a reason to like not like fully agree with it, which I've already listed a few, but yeah.
Seeing a gangster proclivity resides inside of us. That is a kind of spiritual fascism. But political, economic fascism, institutional forms, we don't have a fascist party.
Okay, he said it, okay.
Party, but we got people who have deep fascist sensibilities. I'm going at Brother Trump on this in terms of when you actually...
Your face, oh really?
When you actually
really
attempt to engage in forms that are swerving outside of the law or suspending the law or demonizing vulnerable people, those are quasi-fascist sensibilities. But fascism as a whole ideology, we don't have a wholesale fascist ideological movement, but we've got some elements of it. The Klan had deep fascist sensibility. Would you agree with the Klan was deeply fascist?
Absolutely, and we have to remind ourselves.
Press X to doubt.
The Klan, they were Democrats, and I was actually going to make the
Yes, they
argument that
were.
I
Yes, they
see
were.
the Democrats actually they have a lot of fascist tendencies. And just in talking about the fact that I cannot go to a college campus and speak about the fact that I'm a black conservative and talk about why I believe in conservatism for black Americans, why I love Dr. Thomas Sowell, why I believe that the
Sowell's
economics,
He's
a wonderful man.
I think he's wrong on a lot of things, but he's a brilliant man. Go right ahead.
I think he's right, but you can
Right.
think that, and we can
Right.
both sit here and we can have this
arguments.
conversation
That's
and
right.
have an argument, and
That's
we do
right.
that.
Absolutely.
But the fact that he can go to a college campus and show up and he won't be met with Antifa protesters, right? And people trying to shut down the speech and threaten the event, and the university demanding that you pay for an absurd police presence that no one can really afford to put together. That's how you censor me. That's how you shut me down. So to me, that's institutionalized fascism that we see every day on the left. You will
Okay, now that I've heard her finally say this with her entire chest, hold on, let me let her finish the thought.
never see that on the right. You'll never see any place that you go as conservative. You will be welcomed. We might say, hey, I disagree with him, but I want to hear his ideas. So I think this dialogue, I think it's important so that people can determine who they actually think is right. If we don't.
This is the debate culture I can't stand. Because she's skipping out, and for all you Candace Owens fans, I want you to pay attention real closely at how I'm going to make her out to be a fascist from that statement. If he goes to a college campus, he is not met with Antifa protesters. What is the connection between that and what we just said earlier? What is the glaring oversight in thought that is missing here? What does he stand for? What are his goals? What would he like you to think at the end of this? She missed and completely didn't address what he said, because she went immediately into, if I tried to go, they would cancel me. They would shun me. They would have Antifa protesters throwing stuff at me. Because you're no longer welcome on them. You guys got to remember one thing. For all you conservatives out there that love this shit, you guys got to remember one thing. The marketplace of ideas is the same as a capitalistic market. It can eject things it does not like. It can buy them out. It can push them out. It can use police presence to force them out. Your ideas spark division between people who believe in them and other people. Whereas on the other side, there's a debate between whether or not the morality and practicality of those ideas can be implemented. What failures will come about? What will this mean for the majority of people? Will it be a net goal gain, or will it be so many setbacks that it's not worth the time? You, however, want to go straight to it's everybody else's fault and the right can save you. Listen to her words. I didn't take it out of context. I'm not stretching the truth here. Literally, line for line. She is aligning herself with, yeah, they're fascists. But that's not where we stand. So the fact that we get lumped in with them makes us feel like we are being, or it's a fascist takeover on the other side. However, my dear, why do the actual fascists, again, show me the Democratic Nazis, why do the actual fascists then align themselves with your wording? They take your statements out of context and leap with it. They don't. So how's QAnon exist? The storm is coming. Trump said it on a tweet. Hey, you look at the words. Every third word. The puzzle is there. Like, that's where y'all be at. And since they are a heavy voting bloc, which you'd be surprised about, they appeal to them. More fascism, because we're tolerant of everyone's ideas, until the intolerant people get in control. And you still want to debate them on the marketplace of ideas. She's an idiot. She's an idiot, or she's a fascist. Because either way, you can't explain yourself out of how can she compare the moral standing of what most of the right stands for at this point in time, also against saying that the left doesn't want us in their spaces. You'll never see that on the right, right? That's what she said. So what happened to Stance Grounded? That guy, yeah, you forgot about him. He got to fame because he went to a Trump rally. He spoke against them. People started punching him. He was escorted, dragged out by police. Yeah, marketplace of ideas, right? Oh, that wasn't the right time or place. But I guess we're not welcome then, because that's what'll happen to us. If a bunch of leftists go into a right space and start disagreeing with what the person's saying, that's the marketplace of ideas, right? That would start a fight though, right? Because we've already seen multiple rallies and multiple protests end up in violent deaths by people who disagree with them, just trying to run over them with their cars, trying to knock Biden's tour bus off the road type shit. Yeah, marketplace of ideas. But your side takes it a step further and actually puts practicality, fear, and violence into the world. So then you get a response of fear and violence. The same way in America, as I'm going to repeat it again, we then funded Saudi Arabia, pulled out all of the material resources that we gave them to fight an insurgent government. They themselves then became insurgents, realized that the American government had done something absolutely terrible and had left them with no way to survive. So they said, all right, you're going to treat us like that. We're going to treat you like this. And what ended up happening? So Americans didn't deserve 9/11, but we voted in people who created policies. And when they created these policies that led to us being able to destabilize other countries without anyone G-checking us at all, because we're the world's greatest military, you don't think people would be angry about that? Aren't you angry about the government right now? Don't you not want force this, force that? Guess what we do in other countries? We force democracy. We force a government change. The same government change that you're afraid of is the same government change that we do in other places. Then destabilize them, then demonize them for what we did to them. You don't think anybody would take it out of their mind and say, why are they allowed to fuck with us like this? Let's fuck with them back.
Talk,
just
they're not
desserts.
getting a fair determination.
And I resent that isn't accepted as a truth. I mean, the understanding from a lot of, maybe half the country now, is that there's places that Cornel West would go to do a talk, and there'd be Nazis outside Sieg Heiling trying to prevent him. And that's just
absolutely
not true.
But it happened though.
Those 12 guys are not touring the country trying to stop liberal talks.
But I think one of the reasons is that you don't have a strong right-wing Nazi or right-wing fascist presence inside of the university. The university is very much a place where liberalism is hegemonic. And when you violate certain sensibilities of a variety of different liberals, then they can be intolerant. What you're calling fascist is intolerant. Going against that grain focuses much more on you. Now, you and I share a deep indictment of liberalism and neoliberalism. You do it from the right, mine is from the left. But because my understanding of the severe limitations of liberalism does incorporate certain elements of it, and you don't have strong Nazi presence in the university. You hardly have strong conservative presence in the university.
You don't have a strong Nazi presence
anywhere. Are much more
anywhere.
liberal than they are conservative. No, you do. You got it in Idaho,
in a shooting range in Alabama.
Utah. You got some places in the country that have some white supremacist militia and KKK, and you agree that KKK is fascist, right?
Well, I agree with him that I just don't know where it is in this country. So I've been able to travel to 47 countries over the past, 47 states over the past year, and I've not encountered or seen any pockets where I've seen Ku Klux Klan members.
So when Borat's movie came out, which was obviously before this, sitting in front of somebody and pretending it doesn't exist. Because she's trying to play it like MAGA rallies aren't fascist rallies. See? They hate black people there. But she caps for them. You either are one of two things. You either are doing it for the money because clearly you and them don't align on the literal scale, or you agree with them because somewhere you align with them on the this word. Methodology. That's how you say that. The methodology. Oh, man.
Do I believe that racism still exists? Of course.
I'm an idiot. Let me have it.
By the way, it's always going to exist. There's always going to be black people that hate white people. There's going to be white. I've not encountered or seen any pockets where I've seen Ku Klux Klan members. Do I believe that racism still exists? Of course, racism still exists. By the way, it's always going to exist.
Doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. Accepting racism as a part of human society will quite literally lead to us destroying each other. That isn't a, there's always
going to be black people that hate white people. There's going to be white people that hate black people. But the question of whether this is some organized cell in our country that has a lot of power, I strongly disagree with that.
Wrong. That's not possible. Then he would have told the Proud Boys calm down.
I wouldn't say it has a lot of power. I would say it has some presence. I mean, they have empirical investigations, though, my dear sister, where you've got over 600 and some white supremacist militia groups, some of whom have death threats.
And we watch them in their own towns talking about how much they hate Biden and they don't want socialism and all the negative things about black people and this and that. Like, don't play with me. Don't play with Cornel. Don't do that.
And the FBI keeps track of them because the FBI infiltrates them.
Where are they?
I don't know where they are.
Where are they? The hyperbolic questions again. Where are they? Show me the right-wing militias. Do you want me to give you examples? No. Do your own research. See how dumb that sounds?
That's the problem. See,
They give
that
you
should
death
tell
threats?
you that they're not a presence because we're two black Americans, and we're two black Americans. We should instantly know
FBI is
where
not
they
going to be
are.
lying. I'm not a fan of the FBI.
Well, I'm not saying I'm not a fan of the either, but I'm saying is that if this was something that was so obvious, two black Americans sitting here to be like, I'll tell you exactly where they are because I walk down the street over here. They're in Virginia, in this city, in this town. They meet here on Sundays.
Charlottesville then. Washington, D.C. They fly into Washington, D.C. How about that? Candace Owens is a clown. 2 seconds. Now, I understand Cornel not going to bring it up, but like, hello.
Every black American that I ask that says there's a Nazi or a KKK presence, you just go, where? They go, I don't know, I read it somewhere.
The minimalization of small groups leads to larger groups, and larger groups leads to a problem. That's why I don't go on the super defensive when people say, well, Antifa does this and that, because Antifa's not a group. We know this. I've already covered it. Like, we're not doing the whole back and forth. Oh, but you see, they're cells. We looked it up. We did our due diligence. If you want to check that out, that's on stream somewhere. Go find that. I'm not doing that right now. Or come to the stream and type it so I can like do it with you live. But that is the minimalization of small groups that lead to larger groups. And obviously, if small groups like Tariq Ontario, the whatever the guy name is, the so-called de facto leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarino, something like that. I forgot. I had so many names at this point. Anyway, a good friend Enrique. Now I gotta look it up because I am gonna put this video on YouTube and I don't want to sound like Enrique Iglesias. Yeah, Enrique Tarrio. And he was a prolific informer for the law. That's even better. But like, if those people are meeting with President Trump, then maybe it's not the size of the group, but it's the influence of whatever they're saying. So that's also wrong. So she's lied 4 times, and we've only gotten through part 1.
And I think if that's unacceptable.
Well, they often cite this SPLC hate map that looks
the
like
SPLC
post
is a hate
offices.
group. I'm on the SPLC list.
No, SPLC.
I wonder why.
Tell me what the SPLC is now.
The Southern Poverty Law Center has
Southern
these
Poverty
hate
Law
maps.
They're a hate group.
And you look at it, and
I'm on
it
it.
honestly looks like
I don't see hate.
post offices. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
No,
And
but
you go,
they
that's
try
not.
but same is
that's
true. The
just not true.
Anti-Defamation League will
agree.
tell you that there are hate groups against black folk, against Jews, against Muslims, against a variety of different folk, and they've got some data.
But
I mean, we
no,
can't
they
They're
don't.
deny
also
that.
not considered a credible source.
They're not
Yeah,
because they're
Anti-Defamation League
funded.
is not a-
no,
not a
they're
credible
not.
source.
They're
They're
funded
a joke.
leftists. They're funded
Oh
leftist
no,
groups.
anti-defamation
Funded leftists.
is not leftists. Now they're coming at me tooth and
I
nail.
sat in Congress with them, and I'm telling you right now,
They're not-
Bring up what you talked about in Congress with them. That was the day that she did her famous, there was no Southern switch.
If you saw my recent thing in Congress, I was sitting with all of these professors and all of these people that were, and they had no numbers. And they said, well, we don't know the numbers, but we do know that it's happening. So to me, that seems like a move.
That's not at all what happened.
To control Black Americans. This is what I talk about. If this was such a big issue that we had to be worried about it, we wouldn't need an FBI report to tell us. No one needed my...
Again, minimalizing it because it's not happening everywhere, therefore it's not a problem. Because you're more concerned with the black on black crime. Why would white supremacist groups grow into the hood? They become an easy target, right? The people are not going to be walking down Harlem burning crosses. It's until it gets to that point that you want to say, okay, now we can stop it. But if it gets to that point, do you really think you could stop it? You're fucking full of shit, bro.
My grandpa growing up in the South with the real KKK, he wasn't waiting on an FBI report to tell him that the KKK was there.
True.
They were outside of his door, shooting bullets inside, and he was running to the back of his house. So this now we have people that are more fearful, and yet there's less evidence, except they keep saying that there are reports and there are groups that are telling them. That's what I think we have to step outside.
But the FBI infiltrates these groups and then makes documentaries on them and then posts them. Vice News posts them. So either you're ignoring that because you think it's such a small group of people that it doesn't matter, or maybe you should realize that these people have family members and other people in their communities that go out and vote and have said it literally has led to an insurrection over the fear of socialism. The insurrection was not about Donald Trump losing. It was about the left taking over everything. Where the fuck did they get that idea from? How was it spurned so hard that groups started splintering apart, reviving the old KKK and creating a new version known as the Proud Boys? How did Kyle Rittenhouse be born that? Molding incoming. Nope, we're going to keep it down.
Fair?
But you got all these different attacks, though, sister, on folk, not just in churches, but people with death threats and so forth.
The church massacre. Oh, that was just a lone gunman. He was crazy. There's nobody else like him. It happens again. Pulse. Happens again. Happens again. Happens again. Happens again. Happens again. But these are just isolated incidents.
And
couple people from Saudi Arabia and Iraq fly some planes into some buildings, and we never let it go. But enough people die from gun violence from white supremacists in this country. That's not a problem. Shut the fuck up.
These folk who supposedly are keeping track on the sources of these threats say that they're not just falling from the sky. There's got to be some networks that are in place.
Well, they say that Candace and I are the networks. They say that Jordan Peterson, Dave Rubin are the networks.
I don't think nobody said Sister Candace is head of any kind of...
I'm on the SPLC list. They put some map on and they said that I was...
He just tried to defend her, and
on folk, not just in church.
On the SPLC, okay, then guilty as charged, because that's literally what I go around and I say on stage. I say Black Americans to do without government handouts. I am now across the board. They say that I'm radical and I'm poisoning people. They tried to blame me for inspiring a mass shooting in New Zealand, saying that this person got radicalized by my ideas of Black conservatism in America. I mean, they play really horrible stuff, and fortunately for you, because you hail in liberal land, you are a liberal.
Well, I'm not liberal now. I'm a leftist.
You're a leftist.
I'm a leftist. I'm critical, yeah.
What's the difference in your liberal and
the difference is liberalism, refusal to engage in a critique of capitalism, refusal to engage in a critique of empire and imperial policies, and a refusal to engage in the milquetoast character of the Democratic Party. Liberals are in the...
Okay, so we are not going to watch part 2 until next stream because I'm not going to go through all of this right now. I see that there are a bunch of parts. I think there's 4 in total probably. I am going to save all of those. Sorry, whoops. I'm going to save all of those. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please do me a favor. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that bell to stay notified. We do appreciate it. Thank you for growing me to 116. Can't wait to see where we are in a year from now.